I know I'm trying to make this an art channel, but I just have to talk about the experience I just had. I'll start this out by saying I don't watch movies. I know that sounds wild, like I don't watch movies, that's like saying I don't listen to music. That's not important. We're not talking about that today. I don't know what makes a good or a bad movie, but I am a writer, sort of. I love writing and I like analyzing things. I just don't usually have, it's not an attention span thing. Don't I don't like watching movies. I like the discussion part after the movie. The movie is like a little inconvenience to get to that part. This movie was not an inconvenience. This was an experience, an enlightening experience, one might say. I never watched reviews for the first one because I liked it and I just wanted to enjoy that. I liked the movie, I don't want to see bad reviews of it because I know it was badly reviewed. I just want to have this thing I enjoy. I don't want to have it ruined for me. I didn't really get why the first one was bad. That could be because, again, I don't watch movies. So maybe this time I was a little more critical going in, but I think even if I wasn't trying to be critical, I would have been. I, I don't know what to say, I'm lost for words. The main thing I think people want to know, is it scary? No, I don't think it was. I didn't jump once. I just, I didn't feel like I was watching a horror movie. I felt like I was watching a normal movie and I was just being a bit of a bitch about it. There was tension there, of course. There's tension in any movie. You're expecting the jump scare, but I don't think that's not fear to me. That's not scary. That's just a movie tactic that every movie uses. Also, you can skip this part. This is just a weird thing. Why are there no movie trailers anymore? Like, there were. There was ads for random things like insurance and depression, and then there was 2 ads for movies I've never even heard of. If you're watching this in the future, Wicked for Good came out. It's in the cinemas right now. Zootopia 2 is in the cinemas. I didn't get ads for either of them. Cinemas are a dying art. There was like 10 people in this theatre, I should also mention. I'm gonna put probably multiple speed paints in the background of this while I talk, because this is probably going to be a bit long. So don't say I don't treat you. The speed paint I'm putting on first might be a bit choppy because I'm slowing it down a lot and it's not meant to be slowed down that much. So if you don't want to watch a critical review, not that this is really a review, I need to process what I just witnessed. But I will be mostly talking about the negative parts of this movie because I don't know if there's much good things to say. I will talk about them when they're relevant, but I like this movie because it's bad. I think I would rewatch this over the first one. So we will start with the good part. The beginning scene is so good. There's so much tension and it goes so hard. I'm not going to spoil it. You can watch it for yourself. Please watch it or wait until it comes out. Congratulations. This is such a minor thing, but I love that the puppet is made of velvet. I love textures in fabrics. Love that stuff. So good. Love it. Of course, the designs are always phenomenal. Nobody can say they're not. But yeah, the beginning scene goes hard, but then that sets our expectations a little high. I think then the next scene is back with our guys. And for some reason, Abby, the kid from the first movie, is really missing the traumatizing experience she had almost being murdered last time. I get missing like the good times, and I'm pretty sure they were being like possessed or something when they tried to murder her, but wouldn't it be traumatizing? Why does she miss them so much? And one odd thing I found is why is suddenly Chica her favorite? She never really had a favorite last time. And this wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't at the beginning of the movie being set up that Chica was her favorite, because Chica is the main animatronic in this movie. And I love that. I'm so here for that. Love her. But it feels like every time she talks about them, she's always saying Chica and the others, but it was never really Chica and the others in the first movie. I think the only scene they really had where they bonded more than the others was the scene where she tries to kill her. And again, I wouldn't be bothered by this if it wasn't just her saying that all the time. I feel like if she just showed up and Chica was the one to greet her, like in the movie, it's just weird. It feels like it's kind of backtracking. And then we have a dating subplot that I don't think anyone cares about, including the movie. I remember before the first one came out, people were like, oh, please don't let this be a romantic subplot. And this is bringing me back to one thing I'm really confused about. I thought they were taking the criticism from the last movie, but I didn't get that impression at all. It feels like they doubled down on it. You'll see what I mean later. This movie's wild, but I don't see how it's darker than the first one. That's not saying much. It's not like a high bar. But I remember seeing people saying they were surprised they could get away with this in a PG rating. And I mean, I guess in the first scene there's like stab wounds on this child. That could be it. But that again, the first scene really sets us up for something really great and then it never follows through. Anyway, yeah, the dating subplot goes kind of nowhere. It's just there to set up Vanessa's trauma, which leads into an incredible scene. So first, I don't remember the order of this. I'm not going off a script or anything. I'm just remembering this from my head. I saw this movie yesterday. I think they try to redo the subplot from the first movie where he's trying to like solve his trauma through his dreams. They try to do that with her. He's doing like this biking class. And there's the most intense music playing where she's just pedaling on this and I'm really overwhelmed by like these big screens. So for a second, I thought he was on a bike, just pedaling along. He's not. He's just standing there. But it's so funny. The music, the shots, it's so intense. This has to be purposefully comedic. Like, there's no way it's not. Anyway, she goes home and tries to take care of this trauma, not with a therapist, but with her dreams. Yep, okay. And then I think this is Matthew Lillard's only scene, I think. And of course, he's good as always. Oh no, he's in the beginning too. But anyway, the only reason I'm bringing this scene up really, it's a good scene, I think. I'm only bringing this up because, I probably should have mentioned there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled, because I'm going to spoil all this movie. I'm going to be talking about all this movie. She goes in this closet and Circus Baby is in there. And I said, let's go, probably way too loud for a movie theater. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up. It's a good scene. I don't have anything to talk about really. I think after this, we get into the concept I really like. So there's a ghost hunter show, and I love that shit. I don't watch many ghost hunting shows, but I have like a few select ones that I do really like. I'm a Shaniac, by the way. I think the concept of ghost hunters in this universe is so good. As a ghost hunting show enthusiast, these are the worst ghost hunters I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot. So we get this jump scare of this guy. This is Michael. I'm really mad about that. I hate that they brought the stupid thing they do in the games where they give like 5 characters the same name just for the sake of farming confusion. This is going to be controversial, but I don't think Scott Coffin is a good storyteller in the slightest. I just think he has a story that he just came up with, and then he's really good at marketing it. The mystery is the marketing tactic, and we've seen it time and time again. Just because he started it doesn't mean it's a revolutionary thing. I think his stories are really messy, and I think that his mystery is the only thing that keeps his stories somewhat engaging, as evidenced by the way he didn't even tell the Steel Wool team the story of the game they were making. That's an unrelated tangent. I could feel his grubby little hands all over this movie. It was really weird when Chica looked in the camera and said gay people are threatening the American dream. I thought that was really weird. I don't get why that's in there. Anyway, so Michael's evil in this movie, I suppose, even though I don't remember word for word that iconic cutscene, but I'm sure it's like a whole thing that he's trying to undo the damages that his father has caused and will literally die for that. I think the character assassination in this movie is particularly strong with Charlie. Or Charlotte. I call her Charlie because I named my cat Charlie. I don't have much to say about Michael. I just think it's annoying that they tried to trick us into thinking Mike was Michael, and then I'm not going to talk much about Michael because I think I don't have much to say. All my opinions on him are really based on theories. I like the theory that he is Mike from the first game, but that's just a theory, so I'm probably not going to keep going back to that point because I can admit a theory is just a theory. But I think the characterization of Charlie is terrible. They made her the villain of this movie, which doesn't fit her at all, and it's not for any good reason. They just wanted to make her a scary horror villain, which is completely unnecessary because I feel like she can be a horror villain just without changing her core character, because clearly she murders you in the game, so there is potential there. I just don't know why they made her basically the vengeful spirit, even though the vengeful spirit was in the last movie. I think they kind of based her personality off this one line in Ultimate Custom Night, which does appear in the movie, but I think it's just an example of how good of a person she is. She doesn't even hate William. She's just tried to do the best for everyone else. Obviously, her best isn't that great. Everyone else would probably rather be dead, which is why I think they could have taken that route and it would have been better for her. It just feels like they saw her design and were like, yeah, that's spoopy. That's spoopy. We're putting that in the movie. Anyway, we're still talking about the ghost hunters. Yeah, they go in, they look around. This I don't get it. This is a terrible show. They don't film. There's one guy with a camera and they all split up. The girl goes down to the basement where she hears music and there are no cameras. Can you imagine in Ghost Files if, like, Ryan heard creepy music coming down from the basement and the camera crew just hung around up top? And in this scenario, they wouldn't even be filming Shane. They would just be, like, filming the walls of the creepy old building. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying this is a really bad show. They don't even have, like, GoPros or anything. They just all split up, no cameras, and then they all get murdered with no cameras on. They all witness paranormal activity and don't film it. You know, real ghost hunters will film a door moving on its own and think this is proof that there is an afterlife. Come on now. Anyway, I can say one of the things that's like mildly scary is the way the puppet moves. Okay, they gave her this stupid thing in the movie. I can look over it, but I don't really like it as much. She possesses people, and I thought she like rolled inside them physically, because the scene where she's like climbing inside this woman, she's like twitching, making noises, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of creepy. She's like alive while her body is being puppeteered. That's kind of horrifying. But it happens again later in the movie, which kind of makes this, it kind of weakens this scene because someone else gets possessed like this later in the movie and nothing happens. They're fine. But I do really like the way she moves when she's puppeteering someone. It's like such a creepy motion. It made me feel uncomfortable. That's what I want to see, not the tension building. Which, speaking of tension, the other guy in the show, he's walking down this like river ride and then he slips on nothing and falls into the water. And I don't get why the water's here. I feel like it was never scary to me because I know there's no characters in this game that will look good or scary swimming. So it's like, whenever they're in the water, it's like, I know something's going to come, like swim or grab them, but it's gonna look goofy. I don't think there's any way they can make this look good. It just feels like they added water to be like, ooh, water's spooky, you know? Being in the water in the dark, that's scary. That's pretty spoopy. But they just didn't have the monsters to make that work. Yeah, anyway, he gets eaten by these, like, little tiny puppets in the water, like little plushies. They're also in the, like, the intro, you know, the pixel art intro, which is always cool, but I should have gotten bad signs when they used the same music as the first one. I guess it's consistent, but I was looking forward to a new tune. Looking forward to those new beats, you know? Anyway, he gets eaten by these little puppet plushies, and the water turns red as he's eaten, and it's like, how? They don't have teeth. It's a little, are they beating him to death? It looks like they're sort of like eating him like piranhas, but they don't have teeth. They didn't even show teeth when they showed them in the water. Are they beating him to death with their little plushy hands? I don't get it. And then I think we go back to the main characters again, and I think, I don't know the exact order of all all these scenes, I think. And then they go back to the original location and get this device that lets the spirits, or I think mostly just Charlie uses it, pretending to be other spirits. They let them talk to Abby and lure her to the new location, the older one. Anyway, she goes to the older location and meets up with Chica, the new toy Chica. They hang out and then she starts drawing like stuff from the water, and she goes home and she tells Vanessa about going back to this old location and hanging out in the river with all her new friends. And obviously, Vanessa is concerned about this. And then an infuriating conversation follows where she straight up tells Mike, your sister is hanging out with those ghosts again. She is going to be murdered. Not exactly like that. The conversation went something like, by the way, you should check in with Abby. She says she's going back to that place. There's like a river. She's hanging out with them. And then Mike just ignores this and interrupts her and is like, look, we're trying to heal. We just told you your sister is in a very dangerous position and you ignored it and just put this on her and made it sound like she's the prick for bringing it up. Don't get it. The disagreements between them in this movie are really odd. They just kind of come out of nowhere and feel really forced. Anyway, she leaves and tells him something like, just look after her, without elaborating again. You should look out for her because she is doing something that will get her killed. She doesn't bring this up again. She just leaves. And I don't know where this is in the movie, but at some point later, he gets really mad at her for not telling her about Charlie's death. And it's like, he doesn't know every person her father murdered. It's not really her responsibility to tell you. Like, you know he killed 5 people. What is one more? Why is this one the scariest one of all? Any of the other ones would have been capable of what she's doing. I don't know why you're mad at her for not telling you. And she did. She tried to tell you she was in danger. Anyway, there's also a subplot where Abby is going to a science fair and her teacher is really weird. He's like, this is the robotics teacher, and he's telling her that animatronics aren't real robotics. I'm just gonna let that one settle for a minute because what? Yeah, they are. What's the difference? What makes real robotics? Am I stupid or is that a thing? Are animatronic builders not respected by people that build robots that do similar things? Is it because animatronics are... They're not just for aesthetics, right? Anyway, I just thought that was weird. Some stuff happens. I think Vanessa goes back to the location and then Charlie grabs her and forces her to tell Abby the code to release the animatronics outside of the building. There's like a code that keeps them in place. Then they go to the science fair and there's this really weird timeline thing. So let's say they get there at like noon. It could be like morning. I thought it was morning, but Abby's trying to submit this thing she made to the science fair, and then it gets broken and she goes back to Chica to complain to her about how her stuff was unfairly broken by this grown-ass man who's acting really weird. This is a middle school competition. You're not losing anything if... Also, it is a good build. And I don't get it. So while she leaves, Mike goes to talk to Henry, whose number he found pinned to the building. I don't think it's said his name is Henry, but he is Charlie's father, so we can assume he is. And he is struggling through this really bad dialogue, the poor actor. So Mike talks to him about this murder, and then I think he calls the school and realizes that Abby's not there. So he realizes, oh shit, she's gone back to that place. I don't know how he found out. I think Henry tells him something. I don't know. And all this is happening. It's like bright outside. It's like daytime. He gets to the establishment. It is nighttime. And I should mention, in the first scene where they get to the science fair, he promises he'll be there before the presentation starts. But when he leaves Henry's and goes to the pizzeria, it's nighttime. How is he planning to get there if it took him until nighttime to get to the pizzeria, which wasn't that far off? It was like the middle of the day. Anyway, Abby was given the code to let the animatronics free. I think you know where this is going, because Chica said she wanted to be her science fair project. So I feel like Toy Chica was really underused in this movie because her gimmick in the game is that she's kind of the scariest one out of the toys. Like, all of them have cute designs, and then she just takes off her beak when she attacks, which automatically gives her an edge because no other character has, like, a way to make themselves look more spooky. She takes her beak off in this movie one time. and it's for a joke. She doesn't even take it off, it falls off. They get into the taxi from the first movie, and he's just so tired of this little girl. And Chica's just sitting in the back seat with him with her beak off. And that's the only time they show her about her beak. You know, she didn't have a beak in the games because she's not scary when you don't take it off. You know that, right? Surely? So naturally, when she's, going around killing people, she's not scary because her beak is on. She looks very cutesy. Also, I feel like they could have made these toy animatronics look a little more weathered, especially since the lore is that they've been abandoned. Yeah, anyway, they show her off at the science fair, and the teacher gets mad and accuses her of just putting someone in a suit. And instead of, taking off her head to show him that she's real, she decides to beat him to death. I'm kidding, that's an exaggeration. She doesn't do this, in front of a crowd of children, as funny as that would have been. She follows him to his office, and this is another pet peeve. I don't like how they're silent when they need to be. They're so loud, they're massive, they're hulking, they make loud metallic footsteps, but then sometimes, just when they need to, dead silent. And I think, I get that it's a tool to build tension, to make it scary, but I don't think the people behind it know what make animatronics like that scary. It's not because they're kind of uncanny, because I don't really get that impression. It's because they're massive. They're so strong, you can't fight them off if they catch you. They're literally metal. I think it would be terrifying hearing that massive hulking machine just walking towards you. Again, they're also really slow. I mean, if they were all teaming up, then yeah, I can see how they could get you, but one-on-one? Just run, bro. That doesn't really apply here. He doesn't really get the chance to run. She pulls him through a door, so he's probably concussed. And she keeps her beak on because we don't want this to be too scary, as she pulverizes his head. Non-graphically, of course. Off screen, we don't want this to be scary or anything. Anyway, Mike gets to the old location and he finds Vanessa's still there, and she tells him she's tied up or something. It's in a cabinet. I don't remember. And she tells him, hey, they're probably out. We need to do something. And she takes him to the computer room and they look at it, and for some reason Vanessa is sent to go find Abby because she thinks Puppet's going to use her as the next vessel. So Vanessa is sent to find Abby, the one who knows her way around these computers as she is shown to, while Mike is left to just ignore his sister again and work on these computers he doesn't know as well as she does. Cool. And then, haha, funny comment about no doors. Ooh. Remember the game? Yeah, this is going how you think it is. There's a game segment. I should mention the Withered animatronics are out now. And I should have mentioned this before. There's the scene where Chica's in the crowd. I think she's on stage winning the prize. I don't remember. She's looking in the crowd and the words security breach come up. And we just kind of looked at the screen no way reference. Anyway, she also activates the prototypes, which is the Withereds, which goes so hard as they slowly activate. Also, I don't think Withered Chica is in this much. It's a shame because she's my favourite design, and none of them are really in it much. I don't think Withered Chica really gets much screen time. I think the only one that does is Freddy. He leans over the office in that pose he does, and Bonnie's in the vents. Venting. Not to a therapist, we don't do those here. We dream about our trauma. The game stuff happens and they're wait, so the animatronics are out? They're tracking them? Where could they be? And then it cuts to Toy Freddy just hanging out in the streets. He's just walking. He's walking here. I should mention there's this event called FazFest or something. I don't know why it's there. There's comments about how FazFest is bringing all the past back up and re-traumatizing people, and now people are talking about the murders. Also, some people think that Charlie's death was an accident, where she clearly fell over and had 3 stab wounds in her back. Yeah, a bit of an accident. Oopsie. Anyway, I think FazFest only exists for this one scene where there's kids in FNAF costumes just looking in awe at Toy Freddy and telling him he has the coolest costume. And it's like, I mean, I didn't like laugh out loud, but it's like, that's funny. But then the scene went on for too long. Like, Freddy makes threats at the kids. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go crush some heads now. And they're like, whoa. And I just feel like it was a little drawn out. I think it could have been funnier if that's what they were going for, because it just wasn't that funny. It's like, haha, get it? Oh, he's walking the streets. He's out there. He's walking here. Again, I don't know what the point of FazFest was. That's the only scene of FazFest, aside from kids mentioning it. So yeah, the animatronics are just out and they go on a murderous rampage, except I don't think they actually kill anyone. I don't think. Aside from the teacher who gets his head crushed, like Toy Freddy breaks into the house and I think couples survive because, okay, I have to explain this first. So Vanessa's in the car trying to find Abby, but Mangle's on the roof, and they start like attacking the inside of the car, like smashing the windscreen. And I think it was this moment where the car's like swerving and you could see Mangle on the top and it's like all blurry, and I don't think I like this movie. Don't get me wrong, I love this movie, but I'm like, I don't think I can call this a movie I liked because it was good and I was willing to overlook its flaws to get to the good parts. I think I don't no, I do like this movie. It's just hard to explain. It was just that moment I was like, I don't think this is the movie I wanted. I, this looks like a Blender animation I would have watched 8 years ago. And then Vanessa crashes the car, and it kind of, again, this is me being blind, but I had a really good seat, so it's like, I don't know. It looked like she smashed her head on the, like, dashboard of the car, but she was completely fine. I think she fought off Mangle. I think maybe all the animatronics got shut down by Mike before Mangle could murder her. Maybe not. Maybe Mangle's still on the car. Either way, she's driving again. She's got out. She's driving, and then she crashes through the window of this house where the couple is cowering on the floor, and Toy Freddy gets run over by a car. Also, Toy Bonnie is about to murder some woman because he was like making friends with the kid, and then he decided, oh yeah, there's a parent, I'm gonna go murder them with a normal knife. This is a massive hulking animatronic and it chooses a little kitchen knife. Alright, okay. Yeah, so the animatronics shut down. I don't know if Chica does. Now that I'm thinking about it, either this happened before they got shut down. The organization of the scenes is Mike's in the office, Vanessa's in the car, Freddy's in the house, Bonnie's also in a house, home ownership, Mangle's on the car drives into the building. I think maybe would the animatronics shut off before that happens? And because they turn back on, they're shut off, and then I think the marionette restores their power. Although this could have been, she could have restored their power after she like found her new host, which is Abby, because so like Chica carries her home, and then her chest bursts open and the puppet comes out. Congratulations. And yeah, the puppet controls her, which really takes away from the first time she did it, because then it was like, wow, that's horrifying, but now it's happening to a main character, and the main character you know is going to be fine, and she is fine. I think I've lost track of the timeline again. I'm thinking, did Chica shut down? Okay, I think I've got it. I think maybe Chica didn't shut down because she's being directly controlled by the marionette, because they look at the screen and they're just like, oh, there's one more. Oh no, and it's in my house. And then I think she controls Abby, and then the animatronics power back up. But everyone's safe by that point, so nobody dies. Anyway, Vanessa gets back to the house. I should mention, there's this guy. He showed up in like the first scene with Mike and Abby. He knocked on their door and acted like he was friends, so assuming they're like close friends. I don't think this guy's a name. I don't know what it is. This guy exists, and Vanessa's car breaks down and he picks her up and takes her to Mike's house because she needs to check on Abby. This is that guy's only 2 scenes he's completely forgotten about. He was only set up in the beginning for this one scene. Also, Abby has a friend at school. We see him like twice. He doesn't really amount to anything. So Vanessa gets back and Abby's tweaking out, I gotta say. Although it's not as scary as like the first girl. Like the first one, she had like these creepy crawly movements. She was all weird looking. She was all gangly. The only thing I can think of when looking at Puppet Abby is how much fun this kid is having. The actor, she's having the time of her life in this role, and I can't be scared about that. I can just see this kid having the most fun role of their life. Yeah, but they also don't do any of the like creepy movements they did before, which I don't think doesn't help. And then Mike just barges in with the music box and she's fine. And Puppet leaves her body. There's a comedic remark, which is probably poorly timed, considering this child just faced death again. The first girl did die, by the way. I don't know if she died immediately. I think it'd be better if she didn't. I think that would be spookier. But no, you do see her dead at some point. I should mention, before Mike came back to, you know, save his sister, he made a detour and stopped at Freddy's, the location from the first movie. And he spoke to the air and he asks the original animatronics for help and says stuff like, if she was really your friend, you would come and help her. Could also mention there was a scene at the beginning of the movie where they go back to Freddy's, and I was really confused because I thought the animatronics were still there, but everyone was acting like they weren't because there was an awkward transition scene where it showed the empty stage, and then it showed a flashback from the first movie where the curtains are open and the animatronics are on stage, and I was like, why are you so sad? They're still there, except Foxy's missing. And I was really confused why they were acting like nothing was there. I think it was just a flashback, but I thought it was like the lights turned on and they were still there. I don't know. That could have been just me. Anyway, the I think the Withered animatronics were like shut down the building. They didn't come back. I think they were stuck in that building. It would have taken them a bit too long to walk, I think. Then that's why they're not in this final scene. I should mention that I was laughing so hard I was coughing. So the toys start attacking. They're like, oh yeah, Michael's here. He's like, you're my sister, Vanessa. William is our dad. He looks in the camera and says like, I am Michael Afton. I love this guy's face, by the way. Wish I looked like him. And then the toy animatronics start like breaking in, trying to murder them. All hope is lost. They're surrounded on all angles. And then the original animatronics show up and start beating my animatronics to death. So Freddy takes out Toy Freddy, and I think Foxy takes out Mangle, and Chica and Toy Chica have an epic Titan battle to the death. Yep. I need to watch this again, but like not in a theater, so I can talk as much as I can about it because what happened? What happened? This feels like that. I don't know if this was a joke script that they put forward, like animatronics in Manhattan. It's got to be a joke. I'm sure it's a reference to Muppets in Manhattan. That's probably it. Yeah, they. This feels like they took that joke script seriously. Okay, and then I guess the spirits in the animatronics are weakening and they collapse. And Abby's like, no, don't die. And the little kid from the first movie comes up. I always thought he was Freddy. I think he's meant to be Cassidy. I just kind of assumed he was Freddy because, like, brown shirt. I guess I didn't count the children. I guess I didn't realize there was 5 there, you know? And then they said something like, I don't know if they, like, die. I don't know if their spirits completely leave them, or it's like, our spirits will completely leave them soon, or it's like, are you going to heaven? I I don't remember. I was just too floored by the visual of Chica collapsed in a normal ass house. And the child like kneeling by her side, like, no, don't die. Oh my god, there's this fan fiction I read on Wattpad years ago. Because I was like, is there any good Five Nights at Freddy's fan fiction? The answer was no, but I'm, I'm remembering this now and I'm making the connection. So there's this scene in the end where the animatronics get like crushed by a pillar and the night guard's like kneeling by Chica like, no, don't go. This is that exact scene. That's the exact scene. Oh my god. I just realized this now and I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of my life. Okay, so Michael leaves. I thought baby showing up meant like he was going to get scooped at the end. I'm not like complaining because it was obviously like a flashback scene and like a dream sequence. I didn't see a problem at all with her cameo. I just thought, oh, does this mean we saw baby in the beginning because it's setting up Michael's going to get scooped? He does not. He leaves. Baby does not show up again. Also, I should mention Vanessa had this whole thing where Michael's like, we're family, and she's like, no, this is my family, and stands with like Mike and Abby, and then Mike immediately abandons her. He's like, don't come here again. Don't talk to us again. He blames her for this, even though she's been nothing but helpful. It's not her. It's not the worst thing in the world that she didn't mention she has a murderous brother. You were on your first date. That's not first date material. What the hell? Yeah, so they leave the house and the puppet shows up behind her and now it's controlling her. Ooh, well, at least we're getting Vanny in the next movie. I guess that's kind of cool. It would have been kind of weird if they set up Vanessa and didn't have Vanny anywhere. Also, there was an end credit scene, which the beginning of the movie with like the Universal logo, it said, make sure to stay till the end. I'm pretty sure it was like William Afton narrating the animatronic show, but it's like, is this because we left too early last time? Like, okay, I was like, there's not going to be an end credit scene. Let's just leave. But to be fair, I wasn't missing out on much. Like, I wasn't missing out on a robotic voice saying like something. Page. My throat's too gone. I can't do the robot voice. I probably can't anyway. But this time we get an actual full credit scene with Springtrap and like a bunch of kids finding him for the haunted attraction. Springtrap's presence in this movie is so funny because you know every time they go to the Freddy's location, he's just sitting in the back. He's chilling, he's rotten, while that kid is trying to talk to the animatronics that aren't there anymore. He's trying to talk to like the ghosts. You know, old Willie's just chilling, rotting away in that room. And was it even sealed in the movies? I don't think it was. I think it's just a normal ass room. Anyway, the theatre turned the lights on, so we couldn't really see this end credit scene. But seeing pictures of it, we're like, yeah, that looks cool. I wish we'd seen it. That's the whole plot, recapped. You're welcome. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 rating because that's my rating for I love this, but it's not good. It's not perfect. Maybe 8. Maybe a 9 is what I'd give to something that's like, this is not perfect, but I love it. This is not good at all, and I love it. I would rewatch this over the first one. I just, I feel like I had that same experience I had when Security Breach came out. Like, I mean, Security Breach was more like, is this it? Wait, this is what we were waiting for? Or this was like, this is it. This? We're getting this? You're doing this? I should probably end the video talking about the fort scene. This did not bother me in the slightest. It's like, yeah, sure, there's a scene in there where it's a little lighter. That's how movies work. You don't want to have it like non-stop one emotion. You need to have like up, down. You know what I mean? Come on. It's not that bad. It's one scene. I feel like this movie was what people who don't play the games or know anything about it, their only exposure is like the toys. I feel like that's what they think this movie would be. It just reminds me of the weird FNAF memes that came out at the first one. I was like, okay, you're really just blowing this out of proportion. It's not that bad. It's one scene. You've been watching so many analog horrors that you've kind of got this image in your head that it's like this dark, brooding media that's not for kids. You were 13 when you got into this, by the way. Let's be honest here. If there was like cutscenes in game, they would probably look like this. It's like if the We Are FNAF memes came out when this movie released, I wouldn't have the same, okay, you're blown this out of proportion reaction, because this movie truly is We Are FNAF. I don't know. I don't know. I love this movie.